But we're going to start here with Persona 4 because, well, not least of which because its 10-year anniversary is coming up. It was released in Japan in July of 08, over here in December. And you guys got it early 2009. That doesn't make sense. You guys got it early 2009.
2009.
2009.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that to clarify ahead of time, though, just so credentials are clear, we will also be talking about the re-release that happened in 2012.
Correct.
I believe it was 2012 for the PS Vita. Persona 4 Golden. And Golden is the version that I have played firsthand. I've not played the original that came out on the PS2, unfortunately. So
what a weak sauce noob you are.
I'm sorry.
You've only played the 100-hour video game once. Get out of here.
I played the easier version of it.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I've played both. I didn't get around to them when they first came out. I played the PS2 Persona 4 in, I think, 2015, and played Golden for the first time last month, which, depending on when you're listening to this, was February 2018. So I have some very recent history with these games.
Yeah, Doc is the only person who has bought a PS Vita all year in the entire world.
That's true. Yes. Everyone is rushing to buy Nintendo Switches. Me, contrarian that I am, I will zag when they zig. I will buy the PS Vita refurbished. You're welcome, Sony.
Someone's got to, keep them afloat, even just a little bit.
This is not primarily going to be a podcast about the people that make the games and that sort of thing, but I figure just to be clear and have some cursory information out there, we'll just give credit here to the director of the game, Katsura Hashino, who directed Persona 3 and Persona 5, and I think Persona 5 was his last one. At least he said as much, that he's not doing any more Persona games. Series composer, the well-loved and well-known Shoji Meguro, at least well-loved by me. Chief writers, according to Wikipedia here, given credit, are Yuichiro Tanaka and Akira Kawasaki. And, of course, Atlas is resident artist that does all the Megaten games. I should say that Persona 4 is part of a bigger franchise, the Shin Megami Tensei, or Megaten for short. Mm-hmm. Persona is kind of a spin-off, a section of the Megaten universe, which I think was based on some Japanese novels originally. But there are better YouTube videos and research sites that you could go to get that exact information. Mm-hmm. The artist name, by the way, which I didn't give, is Shigenori Tsujima.
It has to be said, about the Persona series in general from 3 onwards, is that you seem to have individuals in charge of art and music and such. You have such a very unique style. You have a dream team almost, mm-hmm. kind of, with these people. I mean, when everyone thinks of Final Fantasy music, the name that comes immediately to mind is Nobuo Uematsu, and I'm so sorry. I probably.
You're good. It's fine. It's fine.
It's that would be I've probably done such a bad job of calling someone James and instead calling them Lames or something like that. It's wrong. It's wrong and insulting in equal measure.
We're just a couple gaijin that are trying to appreciate these games as best we can. It's all good.
That is true. But the series itself, I mean, if you're familiar with it, you immediately know what it looks like, what it sounds like. It has that unique sense about it that you rarely see in a lot of other things. I mean, there are certainly other games out there that do have their unique flavors to them. Metal Gear Solid, the series for that longest time, I think it was Yoji Shinkawa did a lot of the mechanical design on that, and he in turn also did mechanical design on Zero the Enders. So you immediately know when you look at a Metal Gear Solid game that's got his stamp on it, much as it does with the Persona series, the modern ones in particular. You can immediately tell that it's got an artist's hand at them here, a unique style, unique signature to it.
Absolutely. And so Sojima, he's the main character designer. And the other credited artist is Susumu Nishizawa. And I'm not sure if Nishizawa is the one. I mean, I'm sure there's a team of incredibly talented artists that did a lot of aspects of these games. But whoever has done like the UI design for the modern Persona games is a fucking master. There's a team of masters because the menus and everything about the UI in 3, 4, and 5 just is excellent and just gets progressively better as you go. I remember I did play these games in chronological order despite coming to them late and thinking, wow, Persona 3, like the best menus ever. And each Persona game I play, I just think the UI, they just keep topping themselves.
Yeah. The UI is really easy to follow despite the fact that it is visually bright and distinct. And that's really impressive because you have so many different. I mean, we had Metal Gear Survive come out recently, which I've not played.
Please don't mention
but
it.
But I have watched videos of it, and the UI for that is, while it does indeed have its own unique style about it, you know, you can tell it's similar to Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain, because it is, of course. It's such a convoluted, labyrinthian nightmare to just try and get your characters to have a drink of water that it's honestly astounding. So, God bless, you know, the guys at Atlas for making a UI that is functional, easy to navigate, and still oozes its own charm.
100%. So let's go ahead now and get into the real discussion, the meat. And sit back, folks, prop your feet up, and prepare for a lengthy and in-depth story discussion of Shin Megami Tensei Persona 4.
Just as a heads up, folks, it's worth noticing that we're going to assume for a lot of this that you're probably familiar with what happens in the actual video game itself and the story, because listing every single detail of what happens in the story from start to finish chronologically and then addressing them as we go along this podcast would be 3 days long. It's going to be long already, so we unfortunately don't want to make concessions here, or can't rather, for people who've not played it, mainly because you should probably play it anyway. I mean, it's difficult, obviously, since, annoyingly, and in the age of HD remasters, Atlas has not deigned to, you know, make a Persona 3 and Persona 4 Golden HD re-release for the PS4, because I presume they're afraid of money. Like, do they have an allergy to, like, you know, dollar notes flying at them in rapid succession? I don't get it. But if you absolutely do get the chance to get yourself like a cheap refurbished Visa that still works and can play Golden, or if you can get your hands on what I think is now the discontinued PlayStation TV and do it that way, however you can get a hold of it, I would very heartily recommend it without hesitation. What we will be discussing, huge, massive, holy ball spoilers, straight ahead from here on out. There is no easing in on this. We're going straight in the deep end. You're not going to have your armbands on. So that's how it's going to go, folks. Okay, so let us begin. Let's begin this deep dive into Persona 4.
Yes, and again, if you are sensitive to spoilers, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah, and there's not, like you said, it's important to note there's not going to be a plot summary. The first thing that jumped out at me when playing any of the Persona games, really, the modern ones, I should say, 3, 4, 5, this is true for, but I think they really hit their stride in Persona 4 was how the systems, right, the other the mechanics of the games really tie into the story and push you to seek out the story. I think this was, especially at the time, pretty novel for JRPGs, right? Because you had these amazing things that were introduced in Persona 3 called social links.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just a sort of ranking of the relationships that your main character had with the side characters. And as you progressed through those, your ability to fuse higher level personas increased. If your rank, your social link rank with the person with and each of the characters, of course, is assigned a specific tarot card in these games, and so the character with the magician tarot, say, if your social link rank, your relationship with them was at rank 4, you got a sort of level 4 boost, as it were. You got a certain number of experience boost when you fused personas of the Magician Arcana. That just translates into basically having better personas, better summons with more abilities, better stats in battle. And so for people who are only, I guess, interested or chiefly interested in the dungeon crawling aspects of these games, of mechanics heavy, stat tweaking stuff, like that gave people like that like real incentive to pursue the side stories, because the social links I think of as the B plots. The A plot is, to this game, the murder mystery in the small Japanese town of Inaba. And the social links are the B plots, and you are encouraged to pursue them. It's almost, I almost don't want to call them B plots, because especially for the characters that you have in your party, the investigation team, if you don't pursue the social links and you don't rank up and you don't have the ability to fuse better personas, you're really handicapping yourself in terms of combat. So the
Yes.
story and the combat have this really cool symbiotic relationship going on that I think is really unique, and Atlas really kind of struck gold with the way that these two play off each other.
Yeah, there's something to note about the way the leveling works as well, in that there is a fairly standard experience system that Doc alluded to, which you get bonuses for your personas from social links when you fuse them. You do earn experience from doing battles normally, but the experience you earn from these battles is nothing compared to what you get from the bonuses from the social links. If you think you can spend hours grinding in dungeons to level up that way and just be, a complete introvert and never ever speak to another character ever, you will fail. You will fail hard. It doesn't work like that, I'm very much afraid to say. So you are very much incentivized to seek out social links, even if you just simply as a means of getting more powerful personas to perform, better in battle with more abilities. Simple as that.
Yes, and if you complete the quest line, the social link, right, for each character, you get special items and are able to fuse unique personas that you would not otherwise be able to fuse without completing that social link. So again, if you want to min max and top out your party and really get them equipped for the final encounters, which can be testing if you are under leveled or have pretty bog standard personas, those could be pretty rough. I mean, the stories I think are interesting enough on their own, such that even if they weren't tied to the combat and the persona leveling, I would pursue them, because I just love the ensemble cast of characters in this game. However, I can't think of another JRPG series offhand in which the character relationships are tied to the combat and the levels of your summons or your personas in such a really, like, that connection is so tight. And I know other games have kind of since then have imitated it, like
Mass Effect 2.
Mass Effect 2. Really? So I've never played Mass Effect 2. Tell me about this.
So in Mass Effect 2, it could be argued, depending on how on your viewer Persona 4 and the modern Persona games in general, that the characters are the reason you play, and you don't really care all that much about the overarching story. Which is not to say the overarching story in any of the modern ones is bad. I personally think it's fine, but I would absolutely agree if you think to yourself, I'm here for the people, I'm not here for what is going on in the background. In Mass Effect 2, that's pretty much the same. The plot of Mass Effect 2 is absolute nonsense if you think about it for 5 minutes. It doesn't make a fucking lick of sense. But you're not there for that. The majority of the game is you meeting various people as you assemble a team to pull off this suicide mission, and you do side missions with them that earn your loyalty with them. And when you earn the loyalty of these characters, it affects the outcome of the final mission. Now, it's very binary, this. They're either loyal or they're not. That's it. But it is broadly in principle the same. And the takeaway that a lot of people had from Mass Effect 2, including me, was, I really liked all the character stuff, but I didn't give two shits about the story. So it's similar to that if you have played Mass Effect 2 but haven't played any of the modern Persona games. Although, in my opinion, the modern Persona games are vastly superior to Mass Effect 2 in every way. Yeah, I'm gonna go with every way.
With every way.
Yeah, I'm going with that. I'm making a broad statement there. Come at me, Mass Effect fans, if there are any of you left.
If Vinny from Giant Bomb is listening, he'll be so mad.
Oh,
he also loves Persona 4. Mass Effect 2 is his baby.
He can be as mad as he wants.
A more, I think, direct aping of this can be seen in Legend of Heroes: Trails of Cold Steel, where you have after school time and free time in which you can, you choose a character to hang out with, and then you hang out with them and you level up the relationships for bonuses. So
yes,
yeah,
absolutely,
pretty standard sort of. Ripoff sounds so mean, but they are clearly at Falcom inspired by the social links that Atlas created for Persona.
A couple of things that we need to know about how social links work. Social links are, as Doc mentioned, ranks. They are ranks from 1 to 10. And generally speaking, you are free to pursue social links in whatever order you wish. There are some that are story mandated that you will max automatically regardless of you doing anything. They'll just happen. But most of them are through your own choice. You choose how to spend your time in Persona 4.
And then some of them are gated by personal stats. That is a system I wasn't necessarily looking to bring up, but it seems to only be there to gate off certain social link levels.
Well, there is that, but there is also a little bit more to it, in my opinion.
Okay.
So
you want your character to be suave. You want the game to say that.
Hey, I want to be suave. Maybe I should start working on my personal stats, fill out that little pentagon that they've got going there.
Just go work at a flower shop and read every night.
Yes, that is the key, folks. Practice in front of a mirror. That will solve it for you. That'll allow you to talk to women.
Drink a lot of coffee. That's what Persona taught me. If you drink a lot of coffee, you can be charming.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Something to know about the way that social links work, therefore, is that, generally speaking, I think the system is really good, as Doc mentioned, at serving the story, because one of the ideas of the Persona series in general is that building relationships and networking makes you a stronger person. It's good to be sociable. It's good to, look after and rely on each other and help each other out if you're in a bind, be it small or be it large. However, the social link system is not without its caveats, in my opinion. And one of them is the fact that because you are free to pursue social links in whatever order you so wish, the events that happen in them can feel weird in different contexts as the main story progresses. Persona 4 has this fault, unfortunately, because you can, in theory, for example, leave, let's say Yosuke's social link. Let's say you just ignore it for the entire game because you don't like him. You think he's a twat. You can't stand him. And then you decide in December of the game, because it takes place over a course of a year, and December's when, the town is covered in the yellow fog. And you're having a grand old time, eating takoyaki or whatever it is at the stand. But this is following a number of events, not least of which is, Nanako's hospitalization and death. Dojima, himself being hospitalized. The hunt for the murder is on, and it's getting really tense and dreadful. But let's just go and shoot the shit at, the local stand while this choking death mist is everywhere.
Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. So let's talk about the murder.
Yeah,
this is delicious.
And then you can't breathe as you try to see it's really bad. So that's a problem in that depending on when you do certain social links, it can come across as really odd. Not massively so. It doesn't completely break them, in my opinion, but there are times where you just think, this is a bit weird, particularly if you hit the point when December is in full swing.
Yes.
And the yellow mist is everywhere. Then you think to yourself, have we got more urgent shit to be doing?
At least it acknowledges it. I mean, I know it makes it weirder, but wouldn't it also be perhaps even weirder if it went to a cutscene and the air was clean again?
Yeah, that
you were supposed to do it earlier. That would be terrible.
That would be quite the amateur mistake.
This is a problem that most, if not all, non-linear games kind of run into.
Yes.
You'll be a character in a big open world game like The Witcher or Skyrim or Fallout, and the intro will sort of underscore the urgency of the main quest.
Fallout 4.
And then you're sort of free to like just dick around and do whatever, and it just seems odd. It never sat well with me. One of the reasons I don't care too much for open world games is just that feeling in particular always struck me as just something untrue about it that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah. There are other mild criticisms you can make of the social link system.
Some of them are bad.
Yeah.
the writing, that's more of a criticism of the writing in some of them than the outright the system itself being flawed.
Yeah.
And I would say that the writing on a lot of the links that are not pertinent to that don't involve the investigation team, your party, I really didn't give too much of a shit.
There's a reason for that, and I'll go into that now. The problem with having social links be a non-linear, you do them as you please thing is that generally speaking, the characters inside of them, with the exception of the investigation team, and this is important, Nanako and Dojima.
Yes, they are an exception to what I just said.
Yeah, and I suppose Marie as well if you're playing the golden version.
Right.
And Adachi, but anyway. For the most part, characters who are not, as you said, in the team or those particular individuals, the exceptions, their stories don't weave in with the main plot. And it makes it feel almost like it's compartmentalized, like it's happening in a different place in a different time, where it doesn't matter. And even with the mainline investigation team social links, with certain exceptions, particularly if you romance one of the ladies, the dialogue never changes to reflect like the status of the relationship. And I'm talking like in the mainline story. Like if you max out Yosuke's social link like right away, it doesn't change how he talks to you for the rest of the game. It would if he was rank 1 or rank 10. The mainline dialogue that he has is exactly the same. Now, there's no real way around this because let me just offer you all a quick thought exercise, which is the key problem with non-linear games and why you don't often see them and why when you do, they don't often fulfill their promise. I mean, Mass Effect again is a great example of this. So let me just roll this by you. Let us say that you make an RPG. You can do this in a text editor or, something like Vine. And it opens with your character walking down a path in the woods. And you then come to a fork in the woods. Left or right. Now, let's say you then decide to write for both paths, and then they hit another fork again at the end of these two paths. Repeat ad nauseum. All you're doing essentially is just adding more forks into the road, but you have to write each individual scene of them coming to this next fork, and it increases exponentially. You start with 2, then you end up with 4, 8, 16, 32. It keeps on going like that in this particular instance, and that's just one. It's a relatively simple example here, but already you can see how it's kind of getting out of control as far as writing goes. This is also why, and I don't agree with it being, I would not want this to be the truth, but it is. This is why you don't tend to see often in RPGs necessarily a lot of, choosing your gender. You don't see in Persona 4. Because people have to react differently to you based on your gender. I mean, that's the truth of it. Either that or it doesn't matter. It's a non-thing. And then factor in then the cost of all of this. If you had a male choice as far as gender goes for your character, you'd have to hire 2 voice actors immediately for the entirety of the game, which can be expensive. But on top of that, then consider also that players won't necessarily replay with the other route. They may, for example, play again, Mass Effect and only play Shepard as a male and never play Shepard as a female, and therefore that player, the money you've invested in the game for that experience is wasted because they don't bother looking at it. It's pointless. Who cares? They don't give a shit about that. Now, that's not a universal thing for everyone.
Yeah, and theoretically with Mass Effect, the size of the audience is so large that it's worth spending the resources to pull in people who do want to play as the other gender.
Oh, for sure. But at the same time, though, it costs more than simply writing a linear narrative of a single character.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that to consider.
There are a small handful of JRPG, like really one that comes to mind is Star Ocean 2. But of course, it's a PlayStation 1 generation game, and there's not a ton of unique writing, based on the route you take.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in Tales of Exilia that you can choose to be Jude, the boy, or Milia, the lady. And I've like as you have just pointed out, I have only played through the game as Jude. I don't know, I think the origins, the early scenes of the game are different, but I don't know beyond that, like what changes, what is different, like what extra writing did they do,
Yeah.
if I played as the lady versus the man.
This is why the Mass Effect series ended up being disappointing, but it was going to be disappointing from the beginning because it couldn't ultimately fulfill that, complicated web of different decisions. Like, the decision tree behind these games is immense. And Persona 4 kind of gets around this by sort of not having the social links necessarily matter to the end game so much as just directly tying them to your combat progress. You don't, for example, need a minimum amount to meet the ending requirements. The ending requirements are based on different things. There is one that does require a social link rank 10, and there's another one that requires a rank 10, but you don't otherwise need a broad minimum of rank 10 social links. And this is why, again, as I say, the social links can feel very compartmentalized. Now, I'm not going to tell you who my favorite social link is yet, but I'm going to tell you what I think is the best written social link, or the most engaging social link in the game, or rather, the two most engaged social links, and that's Nanako and Dojima. And there's a reason for this, because although the social link system kicks in around, I think it's May or June for both of them. I'm mainly going from memory here because it's been a while since I've fully played it through.
That sounds fair. That sounds about right. It's early.
Yeah. But you are introduced to these two characters immediately, and you're always seeing scenes of them at home that it actually tie back into their links, of Nanako being left to fend for herself by Dojima, and she's having to grow up early, but she just wants to, live with her dad and just try and also get over the grief of her mother's death, which they still haven't, neither of them really addressed. Dojima similarly is, afraid of getting too close to his daughter because he's afraid of, dealing with the loss head on of his wife. And you learn all of this, or a lot of this detail, outside the link itself. And then what you've learned comes into play with your understanding of the links as they go on. So I would argue their social links actually begin much earlier, although the system says otherwise. And that's why it feels so much more fleshed out. They're I would argue, the most engaging ones in the game. And while this is admittedly not Persona 4, in Persona 5, I feel very similarly about Sojiro and Futaba, because their social links kind of start before they start. You get a lot more background info on them that feeds into your understanding. So it's a system that I think serves its purpose very well as far as reminding you of the game's core theme, which is that personal growth and personal development is important. The lesson essentially is that by being a better person, you become more powerful, but stronger. And often in RPGs, like, strength is simply a function of either knowledge or physical strength or training.
Fucking being rich enough to buy the best weapons.
Yeah, having fat loot, as we call it, back in the old MMO days. But in the Persona series, the idea is that by being a good person who looks after her people and, engages with them and doesn't crawl into your own shell, that is what gives you strength. Literally, that's what it does. Even if you approach it purely mechanically and just want to min-max and just blitz through the game and be like, the best RPG player imaginable, that is mandatory for you to do that. That's the unavoidable coded lesson in the series' DNA. Even personal development, like your stats, like your knowledge, doing your homework, learning how to cook, for example, drinking coffee of all things, but working on these attributes of your personality, even when they're directed towards solely yourself, they allow you to then develop social links further and build on that strength. So it's not just about necessarily being a shoulder for people to lean on, but also honing yourself and sharpening yourself. Essentially, the lesson is, it is a good thing for you to be a better person in whatever way you can be better.
Or just connect with people, right?
Yes, that too.
I think self-improvement is a really big deal. There are some other aspects we'll talk about in a second that are related to that, but the game does a really good job of encouraging connection, encouraging friendships, showing you how that enriches the tapestry of your life, right? Like it adds flourish and joy and sadness as well, but it's contextualized and you're shown that these things are worth it. The additive quality they bring to your life far outweighs any downsides, and it's worth it to reach out to other people. I will say I wanted to let you finish before I address something you said earlier about the compartmentalization of the links.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that is spot on. I do think that in a way, though, that it works to serve what the game is trying to do insofar as it is a life sim. Since Persona 3, I feel like what they've been trying to get at is, yes, you're like a hero, right, who is changing people's lives and saving them from the shadows who would either consume them or make them into like these totally base beings. But you're also just a regular teenager. And that's why you can do things like get a part-time job, you can spend time reading, you can go have lunch with your friends. That's a level of immersion that the game brings. And so I think that it makes sense that there are some relationships that you can build, some people that can be part of your life that don't feed into your main group of friends or don't feed into the main story, because not all parts of your life are going to connect.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that you being on the soccer team or the older nurse you meet at your part-time job don't necessarily connect to the overall narrative. And I said I didn't give a shit. That was harsh. Like they might not mean as much as your relationship with Chie or Naoto. In and of themselves, they might not add up to that, but like as a kind of collective and as something that again serves Persona as teenage life sim, like you get to be urban Japanese kid. I think that they make sense and they work. And so I don't hold it too strongly against the game that some of the links feel quite separate.
I think also that one other criticism I might want to level in, these are all minor, I must stress, they're nothing that truly breaks it for me, is that because the links are rank 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on until 10, it feels very simplistic as far as delivering this character's growth. Like, it's literally a 10-step process. You could
The magic of Yu Narukami is in 10 days he can solve all your problems.
Yeah, it's like the narrator equivalent of 7-minute abs. It's
yeah.
It doesn't feel like it's all that organic relative to just delivering it in the actual plot itself. This again is also why I said I like Nanako and Dojima's social links quite a lot, because they have other things going on outside of them. They don't just exist this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, step kind of thing. It feels almost like you're going around a board game and you're learning a tidbit each time. And that's fine. It's just not completely seamless or completely organic, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's hard to think of a way to solve that within the link system itself. You know what I mean? To improve it, to add nuance to it that would help it. It's tough when it is, tied to the mechanics in the way that it is.
Yeah, this is why I mentioned that thought experiment before, because any way that you could, in theory, try and weave things in together, like, you could have, say, special events where you level up 2 social links at once by inviting 2 people out. That, again, adds cost, time, development. It's content that may be missed by players, so it's not being, efficiently made. It seems to be like, on top of it just serving its function really well, it's also the best solution you could have to this kind of thing in the context of the games and what they're trying to accomplish. I think it works fine. I've heard people criticize social links really heavily for weak reasoning, to be quite honest. And I don't think the system is without flaws, but I think that it serves its function well. But you can kind of see the artifice of it, and that's a small but noticeable problem. I do want to very quickly address something you said, though, about compartmentalization, which, again, made me a bit sad this wasn't a thing that was done in P4. But, well, as you all probably are aware, you can romance the ladies. Not the boys, because as far as Persona 4 is concerned, with maybe one half exception, being gay is not a thing that happens to people. I mean, that's the thing we'll discuss later, because I do want to go into quite exhaustive detail. There's two things I want to mention about romance in both this game and also in games in general. Why do you have romance in video games? Now, in Persona 4, if you romance someone, there is no gameplay benefit to it whatsoever. You don't, for example...
Yeah.
No, that's fine. That is actually a good thing, and I'll tell you why it's a good thing. I think that you could firstly make the argument the reason you can romance the ladies in Persona is because the game is developed for men, hetero men specifically.
Persona for men! Should do a marketing campaign.
You made it sound like a shaving cream then, with that. I'll reach out to the truth and my Bic razor while I'm at it.
Guys, are you having performance problems? Persona for men.
That would definitely be, bottled as the Tower Arcana, let's put it that way. Which I also think is the Arcana of Mara, the penis demon. Yes, there's a penis demon in this game, because of course there is. But anyway, moving away from penis demons, the reason I brought up the romancing is because, on the one hand, you do, as I say, you can make the argument, I think it's a fair one, that it's simply there because it appeals to guys. Enough said. It doesn't really need to be fleshed out any more than that. An alternative hypothesis that I'm fond of, although I won't pretend that it's bulletproof or is necessarily true as the authors of the story intended it, is that I think personally it's a very normal thing for people to want to seek romance and affection in their lives, whatever your orientation. Now, not everyone is into this. There are people who are ace, and that's fine. You're not obliged or obligated to be with someone. But I think for a lot of people do want to find love and want to find affection. And that is a normal thing. And I suppose in some way, having a romance element in a story where everything really is going downhill and there's a lot of drama going on, there's a lot of, cryptic, psycho, nonsense bullshit going on, alternate worlds and all that, that just to have someone with you who you can be close to and just be normal with is is important. It normalizes your character, makes them feel like a regular person, which sometimes is a good thing when, you're constantly being, assaulted by weird, Hulk Hogan wrestling demons from an alternate mental dimension. But that's why I think that romance exists in video games serving a race purpose. It just makes your characters feel normal. Mass Effect, again, you're burdened with saving the fucking galaxy, but it's nice just to, have a platonic sit down with someone you're romantically involved with and just shoot the shit for 5 minutes. Be regular people. That, I think, is important. And funnily enough, though, when you do romance in this game, if you romance one of the investigation team ladies, you do get additional scenes. If you romance one of the ladies who's not one of them, you don't get jack diddly shit beyond the beyond certain events like Christmas, for example.
Right.
For example, I did a playthrough once where I romanced the sun lady, the really tiny one.
The angry one? Oh, no. The music girl.
Yeah, the music girl, yeah.
Okay.
And she, of course, in the Golden, you go on a beach event and there's, stuff with your romantic partner, or there's the festival and such. I don't recall this character showing up.
No.
Nor do I recall something else that I really think should have happened. If you were, dating someone who's not part of the investigation team, which is telling them that's what's going on, telling them the whole kebang.
I live a double life.
Yeah, but like that would be.
Go inside a TV.
I mean, just imagine that though. Like, you're dating one of the girls who's not one of the investigation team, and you get this scene in which you're going into Magetsu Inaba and the end game. The apocalyptic, this is shit getting real moment, and they're just there with you outside Junez, and they say like, "I'll be waiting for you here when you get back."
Here, have a chewing soul.
You've ruined it. God damn it. But yeah, that would have been nice, I reckon. Basically, you've got a choice. If you want the full romantic experience in this game, romance one of the investigation team ladies, or if you're playing Gold and romance Marie. Marie, that is. Sorry, I mangled her name.
I am glad, like you mentioned, actually, that there's not additional gameplay rewards for romance. That might lead to some scummy behavior.
Oh God!
There are certain rewards for certain romances in Golden that I find incredibly icky. That we can talk about later in the show.
Yeah, there's some off stuff about it. At least there isn't like a gameplay benefit to it, because that would be weird.
It would incentivize you being a cheating scumbag.
It would. I don't know how you could really describe this, but it would be false pretenses. I know that makes no sense for a relationship that happens in a video game. But, Yeah, but generally speaking, you pick it because you like him. So that's the way I see it. But I do think that romance serves a good purpose in a lot of fiction in general. Even if it's not explicitly, the focus of it, it's not a romantic story. Granted, there is, the guy gets the girl at the end kind of thing that's a bit tired and worn out. But if you use it as a means of, making characters feel more normal and more grounded, and that, they can just want to live normal lives apart from whatever bullshit they're going through that's, unique to them, then I think it is a worthwhile inclusion. I think that, P4 does that. Like, you have scenes with some characters like the beach scene and all that, or the stuff at the festival, where you just get 5 minutes just to, relax in each other's company and not have to worry about the shit that's happening with the murders. You could be normal people, normal teenagers.